I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So I wrote, it was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma, okay? Get over that.
How many times do we need to see white people also get beaten before anybody will do anything? I'm not sure.
You used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything, and I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So
Political debates today, less about logic, more about stubborn ideology. But recently, Bill Maher cut through the noise, challenging Whoopi Goldberg with his trademark wit and brutal honesty. This wasn't just another celebrity spat, it was a wake-up call, a reminder that some narratives completely fall apart under real scrutiny. And Maher? He didn't hold back. What he said next? Absolutely devastating. Before we jump in, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe our channel to get the latest updates. Your support means a lot to us.
Understand that part of our sorry racial history in this country is that the point of view from a black person is often going to be very different and sometimes shocking.
Bill Maher has built his reputation on calling out nonsense from both sides, but his latest showdown with The View hosts? Next level. Whoopi tried defending her stance with the same old progressive talking points, but Maher wasn't having it. He hit back with cold, hard facts, exposing contradictions that left her scrambling. This debate wasn't just about Maher versus Whoopi. It was a reality check on just how out of touch elite liberal narratives have become with the real struggles of everyday Americans. And trust me, Maher made sure they felt it.
I watch your show all the time, so I know that you're a comic, but you basically go after Trump and Biden, both of them. And a lot of people are not happy with you about that. I'm
not equally.
Well, not equally, because you know that Trump is more dangerous.
Of course. I mean, I don't think anybody was more out front on that danger than I was.
Before we dive into the debate, let's break down the key players. The View, a die-hard defender of liberal policies, has a habit of dismissing any criticism of the left as nothing but right-wing propaganda. Then there's Bill Maher, not a conservative, not a party loyalist, just a traditional liberal who refuses to follow the script. And that contrast? It set the stage for an unforgettable clash. Buckle up, this one gets intense.
I was talking about how he was never going to give up power long ago when everybody was laughing at me and said, you smoke too much pot. And I said, I smoke just the right amount of pot because plainly, I was using the term slow-moving coup before he was elected the first time.
That's right.
I said, this guy is never going to concede power. It's impossible to imagine him going, oh, I lost.
The clash kicked off when Whoopi downplayed concerns about crime, the economy, and the struggles of working-class Americans. Maher didn't let it slide. He fired back, pointing out that inflation and public safety matter far more to everyday people than empty activism. And Whoopi's response? Deflection. Instead of tackling Maher's hard-hitting facts, she fell back on outdated talking points, completely disconnected from the real struggles Americans are facing. Maher exposed the elephant in the room, and Whoopi had no answer.
But, when will the brutality finally lead to some police reform from the ground up? Because clearly, it doesn't matter if it's a white policeman or a black policeman, it is a problem in the police, in the policing itself. Seems things don't seem to make sense to people unless it's somebody they can feel or they can recognize. But how many times do we need to see white people also get beaten before anybody will do anything? I'm not suggesting that. So don't write us and tell me what a racist I am.
About saying anything against Biden, because I feel, not that I have so much power, and you have some more than I do, obviously, but...
Oh, I don't know about that.
Are you afraid that you might, influence the people who are on the fence?
I think you lose all credibility.
Maher, never one to let weak arguments slide, called out a massive contradiction in Whoopi's stance. He pointed out how progressive elites, especially white liberals, love to claim they champion marginalized communities while completely ignoring what those communities actually care about. The numbers don't lie. Polls show that Black and Hispanic voters prioritize economic stability and crime, not the ideological debates raging on social media. But Whoopi, she refused to acknowledge the disconnect, and that silence, it spoke volumes.
I mean, my bond with my audience has always been I don't pull a punch.
Yeah.
My bond with my audience is you're not going to like everything I say,
Yeah.
but you know I'm saying what I really think is true.
Right.
That's. Yeah. Okay. And look, Biden just presents as old. It's not really fair.
No.
Because he's almost the same age. Trump is almost the same age as him.
I know.
The real turning point came when Maher took the debate to political double standards. He brought up Hunter Biden's scandals, exposing how Democrats who scream about accountability suddenly go silent when it's one of their own. The View hosts, visibly uncomfortable. They tried to downplay Biden's actions, brushing them off as overblown. But Maher, he wasn't letting them escape that easily. He pressed harder, and they had nowhere to run.
Trump doesn't present that way. You know, you look at somebody right away, you can kind of just sum them up. I mean, we are not young, but we don't present as old.
Yeah.
Biden does. I saw him yesterday making that speech.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, he's cadaver-like.
But his brain is good. He's still great.
Well, here's what I said. Like when I came back after the strike in September, I said, he should get out.
Maher didn't hold back. He reminded everyone of Biden's own words, that no one is above the law, right before pardoning his own son. That blatant double standard, Maher argued, is exactly why so many Americans are fed up with the system. If the rules only matter when convenient, then they aren't rules at all. And Joy Behar, she tried to defend it, but up against Maher's brutal logic, her argument crumbled.
I mean, a conservative once said to me, what you guys in the liberal side of it don't get about Donald Trump is we don't like him either.
Yeah.
It's just that in this country, it's binary. I mean, gender may not be binary, but politics is. You only get two choices. And the stuff that they are afraid of, they see Donald Trump as a bulwark against.
As the debate heated up, Maher turned his sights on the media's role in shaping public perception. He called out mainstream outlets for bearing the Hunter Biden story before the election, proving they care more about controlling the narrative than actual journalism. Joy Behar, she had no counter. Instead of addressing Maher's hard facts, she brushed it off as just another right-wing conspiracy. Classic deflection. But this time, it wasn't working.
They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
Maher came armed with facts and wasn't backing down. He reminded Whoopi that even left-leaning journalists admitted the Hunter Biden story was deliberately buried for political reasons. And that is the real danger of woke ideology. It's not about truth, not about justice. It's about controlling the narrative. Whoopi's response? She had nothing. Instead of addressing the facts, she bailed, changing the subject. Because when faced with reality, the narrative crumbles.
Obama had her over to the White House, like in 2013, to hint, hey, spend more time with the grandkids. That would not be a good idea, Ruth. And she didn't take the hint, and she was not in good health, and she stayed too long, and she ruined her legacy and got the Supreme Court now to be a pretty right-wing organization. Said Biden shouldn't do that, but ego. He's Dracula. He has crossed oceans of time to be here, and he's not going to give it up now.
Maher called out progressives for treating any disagreement as hostility. He dropped a harsh truth: working-class Americans aren't buying the radical narratives pushed by media elites. But the View hosts, they dismissed it all as right-wing rhetoric. Then Maher hit them with cold, hard facts. The Democrats' leftward shift is alienating Black and Hispanic voters. Polls prove these communities are more patriotic, pro-law enforcement, and against unchecked immigration than white progressives. Yet Democrats keep ignoring them. And that is why they're losing.
And that stuff is a lot closer to the home. It's like my kid is coming home from school, and they're not allowed to tell me if they're transitioning. The school is going to take the side of the kid over the parent. Stuff like that. There is a lot of crazy stuff on the left. This book, there's stuff that each side is going to like and probably stuff they're not going to like so much in there.
Throughout the debate, Sunny Hostin struggled to defend her stance against Maher's fact-based arguments. Instead of addressing his points, she relied on vague talking points, emotional appeals, and deflection. Then came the key moment. Maher pressed her on what Black and Hispanic Americans truly care about: economic stability and public safety. Her response? She dodged. Instead of engaging, she changed the subject. And that's the fatal flaw in woke politics. When faced with inconvenient truths, they run.
You used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bashed. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term, because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
With her arguments completely dismantled, Sunny Hostin had one move left: playing the victim. She accused Maher of misrepresenting her views and making her look bad. But Maher wasn't twisting anything. He simply held up a mirror, and Sunny didn't like what she saw. When faced with cold, hard facts, she had no real response, just deflection and excuses.
Look, I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country.
How dare you disagree with me?
Maher's criticism stung because it didn't come from a conservative. It came from a lifelong liberal. That's what makes him so dangerous to the progressive narrative. He refuses to bow to ideological purity tests, and while that's made him an outsider in some circles, it's also earned him respect from those who value critical thinking and real debate.
That's the answer to the Donald Trump situation, is what's going to get him elected is this woke stuff that a lot of people in this country just don't go for.
Well, one thing that I break with is that you can disagree on candidates, but when one talks about literally upending the entire democracy, that's my heart out. Like, there's not an equal comparison here.
The most brutal part of Maher's critique? He didn't even need to raise his voice. With calm precision, he tore apart Whoopi's arguments one by one, leaving her with nothing but vague rebuttals. But this wasn't just about Whoopi. It reflected a bigger shift in American politics. People are seeing through the contradictions of the woke movement. Maher, once a liberal icon, is now one of its toughest critics. Not because he changed, because the movement did.
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want, because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left? But don't tell me the left
Or maybe the super far right.
This debate wasn't just a clash of opinions. It revealed a deep divide within liberalism itself. Maher represents old-school liberals who champion free speech, rational debate, and real-world solutions. Meanwhile, the woke movement is obsessed with ideological purity, cancel culture, and activism over problem-solving. As the Democratic Party drifts further left, it ignores the real concerns of everyday Americans: inflation, crime, education. Instead, it caters to woke activists fixated on gender pronouns and microaggressions. And Maher's not afraid to say it. That's what makes him dangerous to the progressive narrative.
We talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat. But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Bill Maher's showdown with The View raises a bigger question. Where is political commentary headed in America? As mainstream media becomes more partisan, voices like Maher's stand out for refusing to follow the script. His willingness to call out both sides has earned him respect from moderates and conservatives, while infuriating progressives who demand blind loyalty. In a time when debate is being replaced by ideological echo chambers, Maher's refusal to conform is what keeps him relevant, dangerous, and impossible to ignore.
I mean, women have this is a show watched by a lot of women. Women have no rights in this place.
This debate signals a major shift in how audiences consume political content. Americans are ditching traditional news and celebrity-driven talk shows in favor of independent voices who offer honest, unfiltered discussions. The rise of Maher, Rogan, and others proves there's a growing demand for real conversations, not scripted narratives. If shows like The View refuse to adapt, they risk fading into irrelevance. People are tired of lectures from out-of-touch elites. They want authentic dialogue about real issues. Maher understands this, even if it makes him unpopular with ideological purists.
Okay, that was a joke. But,
Too dark. Too dark.
Well, maybe it is, but it's true. I mean, you know, if I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest.
Could this debate be a turning point? If people keep rejecting performative outrage and ideological purity, the woke establishment may find itself losing ground faster than expected. If they refuse to listen, Maher's takedown of The View could be just the beginning of a much larger reckoning. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe by pressing the bell icon to get the latest juicy updates. What happens in The View next would be a surprise or a disaster. Stay tuned!